It's time to bring Gino home. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Wednesday, January 28th, 2026. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. My name is Tony Gonzalez, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Colby Patnode. We're two lifelong Mariners fans who have been covering the team for over half a decade. And today we're going to tell you why it's time for the Mariners to finally pivot back to Eugenio Suarez. They also made another small trade last night, this time for a backup catcher. So we'll break that down, and then we'll discuss some bittersweet news that came out yesterday morning. But we'll start with Gino, who, we talked about this a couple months ago, Colby. Didn't really see his return to Seattle happening. It would have to take a very specific situation in order for us to really buy into that happening. It would have to take his market pretty much crashing, him being open potentially to signing a 1-year deal, and it would have to, get to pretty close to spring training or even well into camp. Well, it seems like we're here now. According to Jim Bowden, and, of course it's Jim Bowden, so take it with a grain of salt, but Jim Bowden was on Foul Territory yesterday, and he said that Gino's market is, it doesn't exist, pretty much. Like, we've heard rumors about the Pirates. We've heard rumors about the Red Sox. They reportedly want a right-handed bat. He makes a lot of sense, especially after they lost Alex Bregman to the Cubs. But there hasn't been really much movement on that front. And does Gino, at 34 years old, he's turning 35 this year, was just 8 outs away from getting to play in his first ever World Series. Does he really want to go play for the Pittsburgh Pirates, even if they give him a multi-year deal? Who knows? And for the Mariners now, they've been so deep into these Brendan Donovan discussions. Chaim Bloom and the Cardinals still haven't, moved on that front. Who knows if they're actually going to trade him? The Mariners can't be left without a chair, though. The offseason, as it currently is gone, while the Mariners have done some nice things, re-signing Josh Naylor, bringing in Rob Refsnyder, trading for Jose Ferrer, etc. We've talked about this. It's not good enough after you were just 8 outs away from the World Series. They need to do more. They specifically need to do more in their lineup. So it's time to bring Gino home. Colby.
Yeah. The Mariners have a reputation, at least amongst us, and I think it's pretty much impossible to disagree, that they're really bad at pivoting and knowing when to pivot and who to pivot to. Remember last winter, their entire offseason was derailed by them not getting Carlos Santana signed. Well, this winter, it kind of looks like that's the path they're going with not getting Polo done. They thought they had Polo done. They were going to get him back. It was going to be awesome. Here come the Mets at the last minute with a huge offer you weren't going to match, although, they made a very competitive offer by all accounts. So, and they just haven't done anything. They haven't replaced one. We came into this offseason saying, like, the Mariners have, their 3, 4, and 5 spots in their lineup to fill with, Naylor and Polo and Gino. And we wanted them to get 2 of those guys back. We thought that was pretty realistic. And we thought, Naylor and Polo were the obvious ones. And if you didn't get Polo, then you need to go find somebody else. And maybe eventually Gino could be the guy you turn to if all the criteria you mentioned earlier were met. Well, we're here. You didn't get Polo. You got Naylor done. You still have massive holes in your lineup. Think about where the Mariners are at right now. How many spots in the 9 spots in the lineup do you feel good about? Like, you're going to get major league production out of that spot. You feel good about Cal, Julio, Randy, JP, and Josh, right? So that leaves 4 spots in your 9-man lineup where you're like, well, maybe Refsnyder and Canzone can combine to be a good right fielder DH. Maybe if Luke Raley and Victor Robles go back to their 2024 selves, maybe then we have right field figured out. Cool. You still have 2 massive holes where you need 2 of 4 or 5 rookies or very young major leaguers to prove that something that they've never been able to prove before. And you're 8 outs away from going to the World Series. You need some stability. You also need some thump. You lost some home runs here. And Gino, not good at T-Mobile Park, pretty darn good on the road, though. So for half the season, you have a guy who's going to be a well above average hitter. And then you kind of manage it at home. You have at-bats to give at third base right now. You have at-bats to give in the DH spot right now. You even have a few at-bats to give at first base because Josh Naylor shouldn't play 162 games. Nobody should. So it's a fit. You have the money still. I can't imagine at this point that Gino is out here being like, no, I deserve, 2 years and $50 million. I don't think that's what's happening here. I think, Gino's a pretty smart guy. I think he understands where the market is for his services right now. And when you listen to Bowden, it's not like he's not getting the offers he wants. It's that he's not getting offers. Like there's just not a market for Gino right now. And it's kind of weird because the Mariners all the way back in November and December were like, yeah, no, we've talked to Gino about this and we've maintained contact with him. So I don't think this is a case where it's like, oh, unless they were lying, which, maybe they were, but it doesn't seem like this is a case like, oh, we have to start from square one with negotiations and all this, blah, blah, blah. No, it doesn't. You need spots in your life. Even if, again, you want to give the benefit of the doubt to Rayleigh, Robles, Canzone, Ref Snyder, it's like, okay, fine. But you can't also then give the benefit of the doubt to Ben Williamson and Colt Emerson and Cole Young and Ryan Bliss. Like you can't have 4 spots in your lineup that you might have to replace at the deadline. You can't do it. You need to go get some stability. And also, by the way, you need to send a message to your clubhouse that you haven't abandoned them after 1 year, because right now this clubhouse should be furious at the front office. We were 8 outs away from going to the World Series, and we are a worse team today as a result. What's going on? Fix it. Gino, immaculate clubhouse vibes, instant credibility in that clubhouse. You know that he is a threat that you have to deal with in the lineup every day. He gives you the 6th hitter, and now all of a sudden you only need 3 spots. You only need to figure out 3 spots, and you have all these options, and it's a lot easier to go fill 1 or 2 spots at the deadline than it is to fill 3 or 4, as we all know. The Mariners cannot sit back and be like, oh, we'll fix it at the deadline. We'll fix it at the deadline. The rest of that statement is, we hope. No, you need some floor to this roster. You need some length to this lineup. And Gino is a guy who right now the market is telling you can get probably at a price you're going to be pretty darn comfortable with. And it's just a matter of figuring out the details. Like, is it a 1-year deal, a 2-year deal? Is there a vesting option? Is there a buyout? Like, it's stuff like that. There's really no reason whatsoever for Gino not to be a Mariner. And I mean, I guess if the Red Sox come in and they're like, here's $50 million, and okay, well, good for Gino, but that's not the case, at least as things sit right now. So they're out of excuses. They're out of time. Like, you screwed around all winter. You had these opportunities. You could have traded for Brandon Lau. You could have traded for Jeff McNeil. You could have, signed some of these free agents to put yourself in a position where we don't have to come away with Gino, but you didn't, because you sat around all winter hoping that Brendan Donovan would magically fall into your lap, even though there hasn't been any movement towards a deal for at least the last month. And now you screwed around. Now you have to pay the piper. So pay up, because you need that impact. And if it's not Gino, I don't know who it is at this point. That's a problem right there.
You can also make Gino and Donovan work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I don't know exactly how much Gino would wind up making, especially on a 1-year deal, and how that impacts, the Mariners' budget and what ownership is willing to spend. But I mean, Donovan, what did he end up getting in arbitration? I know he was projected to make 5.4, but I don't know what exactly the real number turned out to be.
I think it was right around there.
Yeah. I mean, he's just so cheap and affordable, and because he can play multiple positions, you can absolutely make that work, where he can still play 6 days a week. He's just playing multiple positions. He's an everyday player. He just doesn't have a home defensively, for good reasons, not for bad reasons. And with Gino, like, you can still make Cole Emerson work, because maybe eventually Cole Emerson plays shortstop and JP goes to second base if Cole Young doesn't pan out. Like, you can still give guys runway, even with Brendan Donovan present on the roster, even with Eugenio Suarez on the roster. What this probably eventually means, though, is that you're going to have to move on from like a Luke Rayleigh, or you're going to have to move on from a Dom Canzone, because like that platoon doesn't work, because you need to open up the DH spot a little bit more for Gino down the line or what have you. But also, look, injuries are probably going to happen. And that's what is ultimately my concern with the 4 spots that you mentioned. It's not necessarily just the 4 spots themselves. It's now my margin for error is incredibly slim, because if Randy goes down for an extended period of time, if JP goes down for an extended period of time, now if Julio or Cal go down for an extended period of time, you're probably screwed either way. Even if you do go out and get another bat, I mean, you can survive it a bit better if you go out and get another bat.
Survive it better.
Yeah,
if you add somebody like Gino or Donovan. But
still, like, you know, one of those guys gets hurt and misses an extended period of time, or God forbid the entire season. Like now I got to address 5 spots in my lineup potentially. Now, one of those spots is probably going to work out. You know, a Cole Emerson might pop, or Cole Young might finally pop, or whatever.
Possibly.
Sure, but still, like, all right, even if that happens, then there's still 3 spots, that are up in the air. There's still 2 spots that are up in the air. Still, and again, like we've talked about, you do not know what is going to be available at the deadline. You don't know if that's going to align with your needs. It worked out perfectly this past deadline. Perfectly. That's not going to happen every single deadline, though.
Pretty much by accident.
Yeah, it's not going to happen every single deadline, though.
No.
I get that has been a mode of transacting that has worked out very well for the Mariners, that they are very, very, very good at capitalizing on. But you can't control what the other 29 teams are going to do. You can't control who's going to be good, who's going to be bad. Even if those bad teams, are willing to sell, do those bad teams actually have something that you want to buy from them? There are so many variables when we talk about the trade deadline, that leaving all these things up in the air after you were just 8 outs away from making the World Series, it's just unacceptable, frankly.
Think about what an issue we talk about, oh man, what if Naylor goes down or whatever. Think about the issues that losing Luke Raley and Victor Robles last year gave you. Like, it was bad for a while just because you lost those 2 guys. And those 2 guys are, strong side platoon, 4th outfield types. Like, that threw you through a loop. You lost Ryan Bliss early in the year, and that threw you through a loop. Like, it's not necessarily just the catastrophic injury to the big name player. It's, hey, we're counting on this guy. Like, we're counting on this platoon, right, to DH at Canzone and Refsnyder. What if Refsnyder gets hurt? What if Canzone gets hurt?
And also, frankly, make these young guys earn it.
Yeah.
Don't just hand it to them. Don't just gift them these positions.
No, they haven't done anything to earn the opportunity even.
Cole Young flash. That was great. He was pretty good there for about a month, and then he fell off a cliff. Like, make him earn it again. Make him prove that he can be that guy that we saw, for that month stretch where he was a well above league average bat.
And also, just to kind of put a pin in this, because I know we need to move on. There has never, ever been an instance where a Major League Baseball team has too much talent and it hurts them. That has never existed.
Again, injuries are going to happen. Things are going to happen. Guys are going to regress.
Are going to happen.
Yeah. That's baseball. So yeah, the Mariners need to protect themselves better than they have right now. And so Eugenio Suarez, again, while there are issues with that, obviously, which is why, we haven't really talked about him until really now. He helps you do that. He helps you protect yourself a bit more from all the variables that you are exposing yourself to. Well, the Mariners did make a small move last night. They made a lot of small trades. This one for a backup catcher. We'll talk about him in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Rocket Money and the Space Needle. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming. Between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month, it's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I love how it tracks all my subscriptions and lets me cancel them right in the app with just a few taps. You can set budgets and goals, get personalized insights, and receive real-time alerts for large transactions, upcoming bills, and low balances. It even consolidates your checking, savings, loans, and investments into a single dashboard so you can get a clear view of your entire financial picture. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/locked on. That's rocketmoney.com/LOCKEDON. rocketmoney.com/locked on. Pint to Pie at the Space Needle is the perfect pregame or pre-funk spot before hitting Climate Pledge Arena. After 4 p.m., the Space Needle's Pint to Pie gives you the whole package. Entry, a sweeter, savory tip-top pie, and a pint of beer, wine, or a non-alcoholic drink, all for just $35 per person. Minimum purchase of 2 required. Pint to Pie is your launch pad to tomorrow night's cracking game at the CPA, so why not enjoy a little space and a great view while pre-gaming with your favorite cocktail rather than trying to cram into a crowded sports bar. Toast the home team, then roll into Climate Pledge with the best pregame story in all of Seattle. Whether it's a date night, friend night, or you're just here for the deal of it all, come take your place on the horizon for only $35 per person. Limited time offer, 21 plus only, ID required. Get tickets at spaceneedle.com. Minimum 2 required. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen for all things Mariners. And also thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Mariners with no interruptions, members only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonmariners.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. If you are a team that is DFA'd a player, expect to hear from the Mariners within an hour or so, because the Mariners, the last 3 trades that they made have all been for players that were DFA'd that day. Actually, maybe Zulueta was DFA'd the day before that trade, but whatever. It sounds better when I say it the way that I said it. But Zulueta, Criswell, now Jhonny Pereda, Colby. Mm-hmm. Jhonny Pereda, who most famously struck out Shohei Ohtani in a 17-2 Dodgers win.
Mm-hmm. Daddy.
So potentially a daddy, right? Mm-hmm. Throw him in the pile.
Check out the glossary in the Discord if you don't know what we're talking about. But also at this point, if you don't know what we're talking about when we talk about daddies, shame on you.
That's right. But Jhonny Pereda is actually a catcher. He was most recently with the A's. Then he was with the Twins. That's who DFA'd him, and that's who the Mariners just acquired him from. He's a 29-year-old catcher. Made his major league debut in 2024 with the Marlins. Played 20 games there. /231, 250, 231. That's a 34 WRC plus. Yikes. Played in 30 games last year with 2 teams. That would be the A's and the Twins. /246, 325, 333. That's an 87 WRC plus. And in 11 games with the Twins specifically, he's /345, 387, 483. That's 143 WRC plus. So he's probably the third guy, behind Cal, obviously, and then Andrew Kisner. He has an option left, which is nice. So he's probably going to be in Tacoma to start the year, but the Mariners have gone out. They've gotten another catcher, and there's some things to like here about Pereda, right, Colby?
Yeah. The big one being that he has an option. Yeah, he doesn't have to make the team out of spring training, although he might. I mean, certainly $1 million that they gave to Kisner is not something that they're going to not be willing to move on from if Pereda is just better. But, Kisner will probably be the backup, but it's nice to have options, particularly one that has options. So if somebody gets hurt, you can move them up and down. That's the key, really. And that's the nice thing, instead of signing like a minor league or signing a, free agent to a minor league deal, like Tom Murphy is like, oh, well, if he doesn't make the team, he's probably going to opt out and go somewhere else. Guess what? Pereda can't. So, it's a really nice deal on that front. The defensive metrics are a little bit all over the place. He's got a good pop time, but he's below average in caught stealing. But again, we're only talking about 30 games of sample size there. But the year before, and limited, he was actually better at the base running thing, less effective at blocking pitches. Based on everything I can scrounge together, he's about average behind the plate, which is fine. That's all you need from the backup. When you look at the numbers in the minors in particular, dude gets on base, and that's a skill set that he gets on base. Now, he has okay exit velos, but he also doesn't make a ton of contact, or at least he hasn't. So it's kind of one of those things like, yeah, I'm swinging, but I'm swinging hard just in case I hit the ball. And when he does, it usually has some velo behind it. But he's a guy who's going to work counts. He doesn't chase. That's kind of the good news. He doesn't chase out, expand the zone. He swings and misses a lot in
Yep.
the zone, which limits obviously his ability to be an everyday type of player. So
Yeah,
from what
he
I
ran
can
a
tell,
16.1% walk rate in AAA
yeah,
last year.
yeah. And now again, as a 28, 29-year-old, so like,
Yeah.
yeah, he should at that age, he should be dominating that level. But again, everything I can cobble together on very limited sample sizes and very limited information that's actually out there about him. Average catcher, pretty good job blocking. He'll be fine controlling a run game. Not that the Mariners care about that at all, anyways. But he'll be fine behind the dish and at the plate. He'll probably give you some decent at bats if you need him to. But I just wouldn't expect much production out of him. But you never know with these guys. I mean, the Mariners have turned Austin Nola into, well, I mean, they quite literally turned him into Andres Munoz. But it's stranger things have happened, and Pereda is actually a real catcher. So there's a possibility here that they found a good backup catcher who, by the way, if he is good, they have for 4 or 5 years if they want, or at the very least until Luke Stevenson is ready to go. So yeah, I like the move. Literally cost you nothing, cash, probably like 50 grand to acquire a guy who is going to, by the way, a veteran catcher who's going to get to work with a lot of guys this spring and is going to get his opportunities this spring because Cal's going off to the WBC, and it's widely expected for, the U.S. team to make a deep run. So he'll be gone for a couple weeks. And so, Kisner and Pereda are going to have an opportunity here to catch a lot of innings and catch a lot of guys. And, that could be valuable. So I like the move. There's nothing really to dislike about it. There's enough when you look at the numbers offensively that you're like, he might not be good, but he's not going to be a black hole if I need him to play the backup catcher role. And defensively, he's probably about as good as Kisner. And now, obviously, Kisner's there's improvements that he's made that might, tip the scales in his favor in terms of like pitch framing and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with having a major league quality defensive catcher who also, got a little bit of pop, can hit the ball hard when he actually does make contact, but doesn't expand the zone, understands what it is, and, is liable to take a couple walks on the days that he starts and give you something. So there's really nothing to complain about. It's a good move. It's just not an impact move, and we need an impact move, but you should still also be making moves like this when you can. These are also important moves.
And that's all we have for you on Jhonny Pereda, which is exactly why he did not meet nor clear the Leote line.
No, I mean, the Leote line feels like that it's lowering on the daily basis, but it is not. Yeah. It has not included Jhonny Pereda quite yet.
The Leote line is basically, can we talk about this guy for more than about 12 to 15 minutes?
Pretty much.
That's pretty much what it is. And as you can see here with Jhonny Pereda, we talked about him for 6.
And that was with me stretching, because if you really want to know what Pereda is, average catcher, has some base on ball skills, little bit of pop, but he swings and misses too much to be an everyday player. He's 29. He's already been in like 6 organizations, but he has an option left and he was free. So yay, done.
And you are listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, we have a Patreon. It's called Control the Zone, and on there we talk Mariners, Seahawks, all that good stuff. For more information, go to patreon.com/Control the Zone. Link in the description of this episode. So as we're recording this, Rick Rizzs is holding a press conference at T-Mobile Park because yesterday the team announced that 2026 will be his final year in the booth. So 2027 will be the first year the Mariners play without either Dave Niehaus or Rick Rizzs calling their games. So this is incredibly bittersweet because obviously, incredibly happy for Rick getting, a very well-deserved retirement and, for going out and all that. But it's going to be weird. It's going to be really, really weird knowing that Rick Rizzs is not calling Seattle Mariners baseball games anymore after this season.
Yeah, it's also kind of a unique experience for us because, I mean, sadly, we didn't get the Dave Niehaus like swan song where he just, retired and we got to say goodbye and all that. So,
Yeah.
it's kind of the first time that we've truly gotten to say goodbye to a, iconic legend of Mariners broadcasting. And yeah, it's been Dave and it's been Rick. And Rick has been kind of one of those we talk about this with guys like Kevin Martinez and also guys like Gary Hill. Like they're Mariners through and through. Like that is who they are. They are part of the identity of the franchise, whether they get, the pub of the players and the managers and all that. No, but they're just, almost just as integral as part of this thing as the history of the Seattle Mariners. You need guys like Rick Rizzs, and Rick is certainly a guy who's, larger than life here in Seattle, and nobody has anything negative to say about him. It's just about what a great guy he is and how friendly he is and how, there was a great story yesterday by Angie that when she was playing women's professional baseball, like Rick invited her into the broadcast booth to talk about it. And instead of just doing it for an inning, he asked her to stay for several innings and encouraged her afterwards. Like, this is something you should pursue. You're good at this. And, it's stories like that. And there's probably 1,000 more stories like that. And that's not counting, obviously, Rick's incredible endeavors and his charity work and all of that. Just the personality around T-Mobile Park and how he treats people, and seeing him down at spring training and how he treats people and how he always has time to stop and say hello. And, it's been described to me that it's like perfect stranger who talks to you like you're a member of the family, like you're his friend. And those type of people are pretty rare. And Rick is one of those guys. So I'm happy that he's going to get to retire. I hope he enjoys his retirement, but yeah, it's sad. So it is a bittersweet moment for Mariners fans. And it's something that's going to take some getting used to. Not hearing Dave or Rick on a call for a Mariners game is not something that we've had to do, but for, a couple days at a time. So, I'm happy for Rick, and I hope the Mariners send him out as, he gets to call the last out of a World Series. That would be incredible. Probably need to add a lot more talent if that's going to happen. But, at the end of the day, it'll be nice to hear Rick, get his kind of retirement tour, so to speak, at T-Mobile Park. And it's well earned. And frankly, the spot in the Team Hall of Fame is the bare minimum that they should be doing for Rick. And we'll see what they have planned. And, I'm sure it'll be something. But, Rick is incredibly important to the Seattle Mariners, to the history of the Mariners, and he's important to Mariners fans. So it is a bittersweet day today.
Yeah. And we'll have plenty of time to, talk about what this means for the broadcast crew moving forward. I would assume Gary will be the guy that takes on the mantle in 2027.
Can't wait for him to big league us. It's going to be awesome. I'm the voice of the Seattle Mariners. I don't have time for you peons. Okay, Gary.
The Mariners also announced their broadcast lineup yesterday, and it's the same as last year. Obviously, the only difference is Jim Mueller's not part of the crew anymore. But it's Rick, it's Aaron, it's Angie, it's Hyphen and Gary for the main broadcasters, and they have the three contributors, Brett Adam doing pre and post. So he's now a Mariners employee. I don't know if he was a Mariners employee, if he was just a Root employee.
I thought he was just a Root employee. Like him and Jen, I thought were Root employees.
Yeah.
And so I know Angie was, but she's obviously since become a Mariners employee. So
yeah.
But cool. Nice to see Brad Adams sticking around.
Yeah, and then Buhner, when the team's down in Texas, I assume it's going to be the same thing. And then Dave Valley will show up whenever he shows up.
Whenever Dave feels like it.
It was
He's
like
Dave Valley.
He showed up for like a series in April, I think, or a couple series in April, and then he was gone for like 3 months, I feel like, and then he just showed up again. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's right. Dave Valley's like technically part of the broadcast crew.
That's Dave Mother effing Valley. He can show up whenever he wants.
Clearly.
Just walk in. I'm Dave Valley. Give me my mic. Peon. There are other words I could use, but
Sure.
yeah, it's so same broadcast crew. Cool. I like the crew. And I do think it's nice. Again, I'm pretty sure Brad was a Root employee, and we weren't really sure what the future held for him. Sounds like Jen might be a full-time Seahawks, like because she does the radio.
Yeah, she's a Seahawks employee.
Yeah. So it's nice to see them land on their feet, and obviously there are a lot of off the camera personalities who, unfortunately lost their job about a month ago with the destruction of Root. But it's nice that Brad is still going to be a part of this thing. And we don't know, by the way, I saw somebody ask this question in the comments a couple of days ago, like, how am I going to watch Mariners games if Root's not there? It's like, well, you have to get the MLB TV package. And typically speaking, I believe you can get, because the games are produced by MLB, that means you can buy a specific team only package. So you just have to pay for Mariners games. I don't know if you have T-Mobile, you get free MLB TV. I don't know if that covers it for now that the Mariners are, but there will be no blackouts on MLB TV for the Mariners now. So even if you're in the city of Seattle, you can still watch the Mariners on MLB TV. But in terms of like how that's going to be distributed, blah, 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 like we're trying to figure it out with you guys, but
we should get more information on that in a couple of weeks. Usually like MLB TV starts ramping up, getting all that stuff out there, in a couple of weeks, around the start of spring training. So, because obviously games are going to start being streamed. I think spring training games start on the 19th or the 20th.
They're a few days earlier this year because of the WBC, but I think it's February 19th.
Yeah. I think the Mariners' first game is the 20th. I can't remember, but I think the first games are like the 19th. So,
but so MLB TV is the answer to that.
I like MLB TV as someone that's been using MLB TV forever. It's nice.
I get it. It's another thing you have to go buy, so that's frustrating. But again, I believe they do offer team specific packages if your team is one of them being produced, one of whose games are produced by Major League Baseball. I believe at that point they offer team specific packages, and those are less than obviously the full picture. But I've had MLB TV for the last couple of years because T-Mobile gives it out for free. It's one of the perks, and I have T-Mobile.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Yeah. So it's pretty good. I do enjoy it. It's a nice little handy app to have, and now it's how I'll be watching all the Mariners games. So fingers crossed. But you're just, unfortunately, it is something else you're gonna have to go buy. But it is what it is. I really don't know what to tell you.
Hey, you finally won't be like 3 minutes behind me now. Where I don't have to wait until another inning to be like, yo, Randy went yard.
I think you underestimate me.
5 batters later, and my internet, like, spoilers. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Not 5 batters. It's always like, 3 pitches, 4 pitches.
There's been some pretty extreme moments.
Yeah, there's been times where it's like, I'm like, I feel like I might have already seen this pitch live. And then it's like, welcome to the bottom of the 7th. I was like, there were 2 outs in the top of the 7th. What happened? So, a certain streaming service that I don't think we should mention here because we're not affiliated with them at all. Not great at keeping up with the live. It's part of the reason the Seahawks games, I'm still also like, don't look at your phone before this play. Otherwise you'll know what happens. So, but anyways, MLB TV will be the way that you watch the Mariners this year.
All right, well, that is going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And once again, if you never miss an episode, it's time to make it official. Join the Locked On Everydayer Club and get ad-free audio, access to our members-only Discord, and more, all built for our most loyal fans. Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.